Alright guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to drive a manual transmission vehicle. For driving a manual, you're going to need three main things. One is obviously a manual vehicle with a manual transmission. Two is going to be good timing. And number three is going to be a lot of patience. So let's talk about timing. While driving a manual, you're going to need the perfect timing in between letting out the clutch and pushing in the gas. There's a sweet spot in every single car that is grabby. I mean, like, you let out the clutch about halfway, you'll feel the car start to grab, which is when it starts wanting to go, and that's when you're supposed to start pushing in the gas. So while driving a manual, to start off, you're going to want to put it in first while you're stopped, while having the clutch in. Right before you go, you're going to slowly let out the clutch and push in the gas at the same exact time. It has to have a really close equilibrium in between it, which means you're going to have to push in the gas right about the middle of letting out the clutch. You're gonna probably feel the car start to idle a lot lower and a lot rougher, but that's just what happens when you're learning. I mean, you can't really get past it. Now let's talk about the patience aspect. So while you're driving a manual, it's really frustrating to learn. You'll fail over and over and over again. Trust me, I went through it. It's tough to learn because you can't really get the perfect timing right away. It takes a lot of learning and figuring out the car and figuring out how you want to drive it and how it wants to be driven. So you'll kill the car multiple times over again and again. And that is the most frustrating part. But once you do end up learning, it's one of the best skills in the world, I believe. It's just a big part of the car community and the car culture, and it really just adds so much to your experience of driving. So in a manual, the good thing about it is that you can completely control your gears, which I think is what sucks about having an automatic, is that when you're driving an automatic, you have no control over the transmission. Unless you have sport mode, then that's a little bit less fun. So my car has 5 gears. It is a 5-speed, and it's got kind of a natural shifting point. A point where you like to shift the car, so it doesn't have any problems. I like to keep mine around 2,500 while I'm cruising, but when I'm really trying to get on it, I'll get about to 5,500, which is only about 250 below redline. Driving a manual is kind of like a lifestyle. It really gives a lot of character to your car, which gives you a special connection between you and the vehicle itself that you really can't get anywhere else. So driving a manual, it really makes you feel like the car is a part of yourself. It's great because you can control all the gears that you want to be in. You can downshift, you can upshift, which, might I add, downshifting in this car is amazing. I love the downshifts in any manual for that matter. It's just adds character. Hearing your engine roar right after a downshift, adding more power, it just jumps up in RPMs. It's just something else. It's amazing. So let's talk about the good timing aspect of driving a manual. The part where the good timing comes in is you want to have the perfect time in between letting out the clutch and pushing in the gas, or else you're either gonna kill the car or you're gonna rev it up way too high. Either one of those isn't good for the car. If you rev it up too high, you might burn out your clutch, which clutches are quite expensive to replace. And if you kill it, then that's not good for your transmission. It'll, like, your car will just jump forward and it'll put a hard strain on the transmission and the clutch and everything. So revving up the engine or killing it accidentally while you're learning isn't that bad. You just don't want to keep on doing it as you go on, because continuously killing it or revving it up too high while having the clutch halfway pushed out is not a good habit. It's really going to ruin your transmission. And although the transmissions in manual cars can go through a lot, they're really quite fragile. I put this car through hell when I first started learning. It took me about a week to learn of just repetitive driving as much as I could. I'd have my dad take me out and teach me how to drive it. Every time I get to drive it, I'd keep killing it. I'd get super frustrated. He'd say, "It's all right, you need to calm down, you'll get it eventually." And that's just the kind of attitude that you need towards learning. Because once you do eventually learn, it'll be amazing. You'll feel like a new driver. And you'll feel so in control of the car that you'll never want to stop driving. So to stop the car, you're going to want to push in the clutch while in gear, put it into neutral, let out the clutch, fast or slow, and then just press the brake, just like a normal car. Some people like to downshift while they're driving manual, but that's not the way I learned. I feel like it's a lot easier and probably better for the transmission just to brake, because I don't like putting a strain on my transmission. I like to keep it running perfectly and have it living as long as it possibly can. Now let's talk about uphill starts. It's kind of difficult on an uphill start because if you just let off the brake, you're going to roll backwards. So what you want to do on an uphill start in a manual is let the clutch out slowly till you start to feel the car grab, which then you can let off the brake and feather the gas so that you're going to be moving forward. You want to do it just enough so that you don't burn your clutch, but also so that you don't kill it. And you want the car to be completely stopped when you let off the brake. If not stopped, moving forward at least. So while driving a manual, you need to really be careful because it can get quite distracting. I have friends that when I let them drive this, they don't know where the gears are. So they'll be swerving all over the road, just looking at the gearbox, trying to find the right gear to put it in. And it's scary. I mean, it's not fun having somebody swerve your car all around the road looking for a gear because they don't know how to drive it. And so you're gonna wanna take a lot of time before actually getting out on the road and getting into the driving part of it to learn your gears, figure out where they're at, and figure out how deep and how tight your clutch is and how hard or how easy it will be to drive it. So I think the downshifts are the best part of a manual transmission. So downshifts are where you drop the gear to get higher RPM so you can go faster and also sound nicer. A good RPM for me, kind of risky gear to shift into going about 40, is second. If you shift into second, you're gonna have to give it a lot of gas so you can rev match it, and then you just gun it. You can also skip gears if you need to, one way or the other. You know, you're going way too fast for second gear, you can shift it into fourth so it's a smooth transition and you don't have much speed in between. As well as if you're going too slow for fourth gear and you want to shift it into second so you'll have more power and more grip and your car doesn't die in the middle of the road. Driving a manual is great too because you can be as quiet or as loud as you want. If you want to be super loud, stay in first gear for as long as you possibly can. If you want to be super quiet, start off in second. A lot of cars I'm pretty sure all manual cars you can start off in second, unless your clutch is giving out or you have a 10 horsepower car. While you're cornering a car in a manual, it might be a good idea to downshift in the next lowest gear to get more traction and speed, because it's always better to have speed while taking a corner than no speed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.